Hi, everybody. This is Paul Bryan of UX Strat. Today I'm talking with Paul-Jervis Heath, who is the founding partner and chief designer at Modern Human. Hi, Paul. Welcome to the Stratosphere.
Hi, Paul.
Great to have you here today. Tell me what's going on recently at Modern Human.
Obviously we've been dealing with pandemic and lockdown and all of those kind of things. Working from home, we've closed the studio and been working remotely. But work has continued at its usual pace. It hasn't really meant an awful lot of change for us. We've been working on some really interesting things with academics, and we've been working on some really interesting banking kind of projects as well. Working on thinking about museum experience and what that'll look like post-lockdown. So the usual kind of eclectic mix of projects that we get. So yeah, it's been continuing to be interesting.
Amazing. Well, I'm always enjoying hearing what you're working on. It sounds like a very fun job. You have a talk coming up at XP at the end of this month. What's that talk going to be about?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about blending physical and digital kind of parts of the experience together, and how to use context to understand what people want out of the different parts of those experiences, and then how you kind of blend them together and lead people from a physical experience into a digital one, from a digital experience into a physical one. And also to think about the places where digital experiences are appropriate, where you can mix physical and digital experiences as well. I mean, a lot of the technology that we've got now is perfect for kind of blending physical and digital experiences together. So, if you think about a retail environment, we're all walking into a retail environment with a little supercomputer in our pockets, and what can we do with that? And that's a much better form factor than those touch screens that you often see in different environments and things like that. So we've seen things like checkouts. Why have a checkout when you can do it all on that? And what opportunities does that kind of create? So I'll be talking about all of those kind of things. I've got two case studies to talk about. They sound quite different. So I've got one in a retail environment, so a very kind of commercial kind of case study. And we're looking at another one, which is some work we did for a library. Completely different, non-commercial kind of organization, but actually there's some really interesting similarities between the two. I'll use the talk to talk a little bit about kind of how those two things, there's the things that were similar about them and the things that were different too.
Cool. Well, it sounds like the phygital era is coming with the physical and digital, and it certainly seems to me that we actually were a lot farther along in digital than we thought before the pandemic, right? So
Yeah.
it feels like there's a market for this phygital experience that you're designing.
There really is, and actually some of the changes that are currently in place, we don't know how long they're going to go on for, but one of the things I've been thinking about recently is how some of the changes that different organizations will have to make as a result of the pandemic, museums, retailers, those kind of organizations, how actually some of that blending of physical and digital together might be really useful. And actually, how that might create an even better experience for people, and it being born out of kind of obviously an awful kind of thing that's happened, and having to deal with that. And that's what you find, isn't it? That actually, that innovation happens at terrible times. It happens around wars. It happens around kind of these kind of inflection points in human history, and they quite often are very disruptive kind of experiences. But it feels like there's a real opportunity to rethink the customer experience, the user experience of some of these environments, because there's going to be fewer people in, and that changes the commercial kind of balance of things as well. And so then how do you use digital to either make up for that or completely reimagine the experience so that it's for it, so that you change the purpose of that physical space. And I think we've seen that theme run through a lot of our work recently, whether it's designing workplaces for people, or whether it's designing retail environments, museums, that kind of a theme that keeps coming back to us over and over again.
Sure. Well, I know that a lot of people are rethinking those experiences. One of your fellow speakers, David Ruiz, is thinking about it for the French train system, SNCF. And I'm certainly thinking about it in terms of events, design, conferences, and so forth. So I think it's a very apropos topic for the moment. I'm looking forward to your talk at the end of July.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for talking to me, Paul.